So I get to start. What is ephemeral art? Ha, I rhymed. Ephemeral art is art that only lasts a short time and is typically made with items found in nature. It is something that people have been doing for a long time, and sometimes when they don't even know they were creating ephemeral art, for example, making a snowman, arranging a vase of flowers, or as in these two slides, the things that were made for our holiday party. And last year we had everybody come out to create ephemeral art for their home, since we didn't have our holiday party last year. So drawing a picture in the dirt with a stick. Some of you have heard of Andy Goldsworthy, who is known for using natural material to create sculptures and other ephemeral works of art, but there are many others that also create with nature, and we'll be seeing some of their slides. So we have Andy Goldsworthy, Jon Foreman, Martin Hill and Philippa Jones, Nils-Udo, Shona Wilson, and Jonna Jinton. So Andy Goldsworthy is an English sculptor, photographer, and environmentalist who produces site-specific sculptures and land art situated in natural and urban settings. The materials used in Goldsworthy's art often include brightly colored flowers, icicles, leaves, mud, pine cone, snow, stone, twigs, and thorns. He has been quoted as saying, "I think it's incredibly brave to be working with flowers and leaves and petals, but I have to. I can't edit the materials. My remit is to work with nature as a whole." Photography plays a crucial role in his art due to its often ephemeral and transient state. According to Goldsworthy, each work grows, stays, decays, integral parts of a cycle, which the photograph shows at its height, marking the moment when the work is most alive. There's an intensity about a work at its peak that I hope is expressed in the image. Jon Foreman, a creator of various styles of land art, he is ever in search of different, be it with stones or leaves, inland or on beaches. He has even created works in derelict environments using materials such as broken glass or ashes and general debris. The scale of his work varies massively. He may use stones or driftwood to make something small and minimal. Otherwise, he may be seen drawing a massive scale sand drawing up to 50 meters across. His work is ephemeral in many differing ways. Most often, the weather and immediate climate will make his work disappear, be blown down, or washed away by the tide. And sometimes other people will interfere. This is all part of the creative process and has proven to benefit his work. Jon's practice is not just something he enjoys, but it's also therapy for him, an escape from the stresses of everyday life. Jon began his journey making land art sculpture while in college, but he feels his creative play with materials and innovative ideas are something which started long before. Most of his work takes place in an already beautiful setting, such as the Pembrokeshire coastline. Having grown up there where he saw the beauty of the coastline and woodlands and made use of them by collaborating with nature itself. Martin Hill and Philippa Jones. Originally from London and New Zealand, both met on a climbing expedition. With his project collaborator, Philippa Jones, photographer and artist Martin Hill traveled to remote locations around the world to create environmental sculptures that represent a visual circle of life. What sets his land art apart from the rest is that many of his works don't completely form until the water is calm and the sun hits them, creating a startling reflection in the water. When asked what he hopes others get out of his works, he says, "I hope people reflect on their relationship to natural systems and how they can help to improve it through the way they live their lives." And we're going to watch a video, and I want you to really pay attention to what the video shows, because this piece looks really, really big, but wait till you see the video. It's amazing. So he said that for that video, he said this was part of a year-long commissioned project with a sense of place and being connected to nature. Philippa Jones and I extracted a slab of ice from a frozen pond and cut it with a penknife into a semicircle with a base that sat below the water level on the lake bed where we stood it. The reflection completes the circle. This was only achievable in calm weather, and it lasted about 2 minutes before it broke at the surface where the temperature was warmest. I mean, that is just amazing because it looks so huge, but you can tell that it was not. Nils-Udo is our next artist. The German artist from Bavaria who has been creating environmental art since the 1960s, when he moved away from painting in the studio and began to work with and in nature. He began in the 1960s as a painter on traditional surfaces in Paris, but moved to his home country in Bavaria and started to plant creations, putting them in nature's hands to develop and eventually disappear. As his work became more ephemeral, Udo introduced photography as part of his art to document and share it. He seeks to offer a mutualist vision wherein nature as environment is an omnipresent backdrop. In revealing the diversity in a specific environment, he establishes links between human and natural history, between nature and humanity that are always there, yet seldom recognized. Using natural materials such as sticks, petals, branches to create site-specific installations. That is the end of my part.
So I'm going to talk to you about Shona Wilson. She is an Australian sculptor who uses a lot of natural items in her artwork. She started in 2014, she started a project called the One a Day Ephemeral Art Project. And she says that creating with nature's overlooked items brings me closer to understanding the world we share. And I love that quote because the things that we've seen these well-known artists create with are just things that normally you would walk past. You know, they're leaves and sticks and rocks and flowers, and they just stop, take some time out in nature and create these beautiful things, which makes me think that we can do that too, because we have access to the same materials and we can stop and take some time and make some beautiful things. So Shona inspires me because she uses sticks and rocks and goes out once a day and makes something that she takes a photograph of, and it becomes a beautiful piece of art. I like too how she uses shadows in her work. I hadn't really thought about that until I saw some of the stuff she had created. And she really explores color contrast and using different colors in her work. Another thing that I admire about Shona is that it's not just about her artwork. She really believes in the importance of helping people connect to nature and to the natural environment as a space of playful creativity, she calls it, and mindfulness. So she runs workshops where it's not just about her art, but she invites people out to come and join her in creating artwork. So we're going to watch some clips from one of her workshops that she ran. Let's see if I can get it.
for someone to have such a kind of profound experience, that's what the day is really all about. It's not just about making art. Having a connection to yourself via nature, really, or working with nature, connecting back to yourself with nature as the catalyst for that.
Yeah, it's been a real eye-opener and a different way of thinking and feeling about art. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
The workshop is for every person, and just to help people access in a very playful and unpressured way their own creativity, which is there. You don't have to be fit and female to do a workshop. And I suppose the process of making work in this way is very democratising. Yeah, everyone's on an even playing field. The workshop starts where I give a presentation and we talk about ephemeral art and what that is, and I show some images and people hopefully get inspired by what they see and what's possible.
There is that definite suspension of time in a way that you actually need to stop, and the learning, I mean, to not bring any other tools to it means that you do have to stop. Actually being in nature, you're able to observe nature's marks.
It's about being spontaneous and playful and reacting quickly and resourcefully to what's around you. So what we do in the day teaches us processes that you can take with you into your everyday life. Using lateral thinking and overcoming adversities and all of those sorts of considerations that come into the day, because we don't bring anything with us, we just use what we find on site on the day and our own bodies to create the work. And people, I think, go away with a feeling of surprise of how capable they actually are.
When you don't know what you're going to be working with, you have to be just a bit more responsive and
spontaneous.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And is that liberating?
Absolutely,
yeah,
it's been great. Well, imagine if we could work here for a week.
Yeah.
You know, you could really build like work right up to the...
I encourage people to work in places or with things that they feel really attracted to and have some sort of heart connection with.
You see, I wouldn't have gone back had you not pushed me on. Yeah.
It's honouring your instinct.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's a profound place of creativity.
Yeah.
Hopefully it starts to change the brain in a little way too, of opens you up to seeing the world in a new way, different opportunities.
When I watched that video, so I've been doing ephemeral art with my students for a while, and I usually think flat pictures. And so when I watched that video, it really made me think about going vertically. And I love how people were like using grass to tie things. Did anybody, I feel like we've shown you a lot of stuff. Does anybody have anything they want to comment on or any insight they've had with what we've shown so far?
I am blown away. I think it's amazing, and I can't wait to go outside and do something.
Right?
Yeah. Beautiful stuff.
So, oops. Hang on a second. There we go. So when Shona, I told you that Shona Wilson did a one-a-day ephemeral art project that she started in 2014, and she took photographs of it. It's on Instagram. If anybody's on Instagram, you can see her artwork there. When she started that, she made some guidelines for herself. I think they're helpful because they kind of make all of this big idea something tangible. So I'm going to read through her guidelines. This is also something we shared on the November newsletter. So if you clicked through that, you may have already seen this. These are her guidelines. Use only found natural materials on site. Nothing needs to be brought with you, and what is available can direct the art. No tools. We do not need to bring anything with us besides a way to take pictures if it applies. When you feel like you need scissors, tape, etc., encourage yourself to come up with a creative alternative or a change in plans. Rain or shine. The weather may be uncooperative with your original idea, but try to think of how to incorporate it as a part of the natural setting. For example, if it is very windy, it may not be possible to arrange leaves on the ground without them moving, but perhaps there could be a new idea that incorporates the wind, like long grasses tied in a way where they blow with the breeze. Tired or inspired. You may be inspired and excited about the project. I kind of feel that way right now, or you may be unsure and feel like you have no ideas. That's okay. Just play around with the materials anyway, and you might be surprised what you come up with. You may become inspired or you might not, and both are okay. 5 minutes to 50 minutes. This exact time frame may not be used every time, but it is all right to have some projects that take a long time to complete and others that may be shorter. If you have a 5-minute work, you don't need to continue adding to it after it feels complete. For me, those guidelines take off some of the pressure to make an amazing piece of art, because you're just going out there to use the materials and to spend some time in nature and to be a little creative. When you're out making ephemeral art, it's a really good chance to slow down and be thoughtful and mindful while you're outside. And so there are some questions that we have that you can ask yourself to kind of keep you in a mindful space while you're working. Is there a part that was your favorite? Is there anything you would do differently next time? What would you think if you found someone else's ephemeral art unexpectedly? What are some ways the ephemeral nature art might look different throughout the different seasons? And how did you feel as you created your piece? These are questions we encourage teachers to use with their students, but I think they're also really helpful for us to use with ourselves, just to keep us in the moment as we're creating. And now I get to show you my favorite. Jonna Jinton is my favorite of these artists. I think I mentioned that I use ephemeral art. I used ephemeral art with my students a lot. And so when I was looking for different artists to show them, I came across Jonna Jinton, and I just love her story. She grew up in a bigger city in Sweden. I think it was Gothenburg. I'm not positive how to pronounce all of her cities. But after she was when she was a young adult, she decided she wanted to move back to the village that her family had come from. And there are 10 people that live in that village. So that's just amazing to me in and of itself. So she moved back to this little village and just started exploring all of the different kinds of art that she wanted to work with. She said about her move, she said, "My heart was longing for something else, nature and silence." And so I'm gonna show you this video that was on the November newsletter, but it's just one of my favorites. So we get to watch it.
I really love balancing stones, mostly because I think it's such a great way to also balance myself and to create something beautiful at the same time. Even though a little wind is enough to make it look like your sculpture never was there. But in this moment, as I try to find a tiny, tiny little balance point, my thoughts are completely silent. And that's a very good feeling. Sometimes it only takes a couple of minutes to make a balance, and sometimes an hour. But when it's done, I love to watch the stone balance. It looks so still and quiet in a world that is constantly moving. Very often I see people commenting that it's fake, that it's impossible to do this, and that it's photoshopped or glue. But I kinda get excited about those reactions, because it's a proof that there is so much more in this life than we could ever imagine. If some people think that this is impossible, imagine then how many more things there is in life that we still think is impossible, just because we never really tried it. Just because we already put the frames on what is possible and not. I also get a lot of questions about how to learn this, and my advice is, just go get out there, find some stones, play around and have fun. After a while, you will get to know the stones and get a feeling of how to balance them in the best way. And you will learn to see which stones works best together. You might spend a lot of time trying to balance a stone that will never balance, but you learn something every time, and it's a wonderful way of spending time in nature. Depending on what kind of stone balance you're doing, the balance point can be really tiny. So the movements that you do while adjusting the stones to find the balance point are so tiny that you can barely see it with your eyes. You just feel it with your hands. And when you finally find that tiny balance point, the gravity will be there for you to hold your stones together.
She has so much good stuff to say. And when I played the video for my kindergartners, I just really wanted them to I wanted to be like, listen to that part. Anything is possible. Listen to that part. It might all fall down and that's okay. Just keep going. So, and I know, Mary, you watched the video before and loved it. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to say? Thought we could pause here in case anybody wants to talk. No, we're good? Okay.
I really love balancing stones.
Sorry, almost made you watch it twice, which it wouldn't be a bad thing.
All right, so now you have learned a little bit about ephemeral art in nature, and you've been introduced to some artists that are well known for creating art in this medium. Hopefully you found it interesting and cool. We're also hoping you've been inspired, because the theme for the 2023 LREC calendar is ephemeral art. I'm going to go over the nuts and bolts of the calendar project. We are going to start with where. That's our first question, where? So we're talking about art created here on site at LREC. The prairie, the woods, the creek, everything in between. We're really wanting to showcase the natural materials found here at LREC on site through the changing seasons. Next question is who? So volunteers, education, horticulture, restoration volunteers. You can work with a buddy, grab another volunteer or make a small group of volunteers and work together. If you are interested in coming out with your child or grandchild or spouse or significant other, you can bring them along to help you create. You can also go solo and do this on your own. In addition to volunteers, we are extending this opportunity to participate in the calendar project to school groups. So that means teachers and students. The announcement went out in our November 5th LREC newsletter. We've already actually had a teacher that, in conjunction with his winter visit plans, is planning to have his 5th grade students participate in doing some ephemeral art here on site. So we're looking forward to that. We're also looking forward, hopefully, to more teachers that are interested in taking us up on this opportunity. The next question is when. So we will be having organized monthly events. They are already on our online calendar, our LREC program calendar. They will happen the third Wednesday of each month. They'll begin in December of this year, and they will go through October of 2022. And the third Wednesday of each month, those times will be from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. If that is not a time that works for you, do not worry. We can work. We have lots of other opportunities. Some of you come to work with school groups. Others come on Tuesday or Friday to volunteer. You are welcome to go out and get your creativity on either before or after you come out to volunteer. If none of those times work, you are welcome to call Martha and let her know that you'll be coming out to wander and create at a different time. We really, really want to encourage people to come out throughout the seasons. So, fall, winter, spring, and even summer. And we're excited to kick off the calendar project during our upcoming volunteer appreciation event that's happening next week. That event is happening on Tuesday, November 16th, Wednesday, November 17th. So if you have already signed up to come to our volunteer appreciation event, you can get excited about the opportunity to do some ephemeral art if you want to during that time. Why is the next question. So over the years, we love putting together our annual calendar and handing it out for you all so that you can remember LREC as you flip from month to month. We're always trying to think of new themes. Our 2021 calendar for this year happens to feature beautiful, wonderful photos from Rich Blosser, our volunteer photographer. Our 2022 calendar is coming soon, very, very soon. I don't want to give away the theme, but I know you all love it. And so for our 2023 calendar, I know it's kind of crazy that we're already thinking about the 2023 calendar, but it does take planning and preparation. So we decided that we thought it would be fun for that to have a theme. And so the theme is going to be ephemeral art in nature. We are really wanting to showcase the talents of our wonderful community, making our 2023 calendar a truly collaborative effort from all of us that love LREC. And the last question is how? So, what you need to do is come out, create your art. You are welcome to take a photo of your creation. If you do take your own photo, I ask you to email it to me, Leslie@lrec.net, and I'm going to kind of keep track of all the photo submissions that are coming in. If you would prefer one of us here, it doesn't matter, it can be any staff person. If you prefer one of us to take a photo of your creation, that is perfectly fine too. Just let us know when you're here so that we can do that. We can come out and document your work. I think that we can move on to the next slide. Is that right, Julie? Yes. So we hope that by coming to our presentation today, learning about these artists, watching some of the videos, you feel inspired to get out and get creative. We have a kind of a closing, very short, brief video that we're going to show to get you inspired and excited about the project. you just love that video? It just makes me feel really happy. I've got one more thing to say while we're on this slide. And the music is great. I love the music too. The last thing, or one of the things I wanted to say was, you know, we've been gypped with this COVID thing. We just haven't been able to have our holiday party last year. We can't have it this year. But just think to our holiday, fast forward to our holiday party in 2022. We're really hoping to have a slideshow of I know Julie's crossing her fingers, a slideshow of all of the awesome ephemeral art that has been created here at Litzinger. So some of the ephemeral art, those photos will make its way to our calendar, and then we will definitely find a different way to showcase all of the different creations so nobody feels left out. And I also wanted to just, you know, say thank you to the artists that we highlighted in our presentation. We really enjoyed learning more about them as we prepared for the enrichment. When we add the recording to our YouTube channel, we are going to share links to each of the artists in the description box. And that way you'll be able to explore their ephemeral art on your own if you want to do that. So I think we're gonna open it up for questions and comments. I am gonna, or I guess, can I unmute everybody?
I think they have to choose to unmute.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so you are welcome to unmute yourself at this point in time. Show your lovely faces on your video screen there, and yeah.
I highly encourage everybody to go on Jon Foreman's website and just look at the art that he has created, because he does a lot of stuff in sand, and he'll just get out there with a rake and he does these intricate designs, and then he has, you know, a drone video that shows, you know, the work, and how he does it, I have no idea. I mean, he's got to have, you know, he is just unbelievable.
I have a question. When we do ephemeral art at the Ecology Center, are we using just things that are on the ground rather than picking flowers or seeds, or because that's pretty? I just wanted to know.
That's a great question. So I'm looking to James, but he has his mask on. So we're, in my mind, we're a very hands-on place, right? We do allow kids, when we have student groups out, to really look at things carefully and closely, which might include looking at a milkweed pod and opening it up and seeing the seeds, or picking a blossom. I think that this is kind of what we've gone with before. You know, if it's something that's rare that we have very few of, like the gentian, although we've got lots of gentian now, you know, at one time it was like, oh my gosh, we only have a few plants. You know, obviously we don't want to take things that we have few of. Does that make sense? James, do you have, how is our horticulture and restoration staff feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of our plants are up for grabs in that sense of, as long as you know it's something very common in the property. If you feel like, oh, I've never seen this flower here before, and yoink, you know, something like that. You know, a lot of our plants are not that way, and Adam will actually be working towards, and I don't know, you know, we'll shout out to Adam's previous enrichment if you want to watch that, but he's going to be trying to bring in some plants that are a little bit more uncommon in our area, to maybe even rare, but he's going to be trying to do those in areas that might not be like right off the path. So you would hopefully not come across those plants. But yeah, I mean, just use your better judgment. The only plants I think that are probably like really close to a path that would maybe be like, oh, don't touch would be like our one orchid right around the path by the cabin. And we even get it like little fenced off, so like it kind of draws your attention to it. So it's a nice little talking point to students, and just kind of, to be able to show them there so we can kind of watch it as it comes back each year. I think I'd like to get a nicer looking fence at some point. But I mean, aside from that, I don't think there's really any general issues. And if you are taking flowers or seeds from something, don't take it all from the one individual plant. So like, their genetics could be passed on, that kind of thing. So if you're taking seeds from things, and you just want a whole bunch of one type, just taking them from multiple plants along the path instead of just all the seeds from this one plant, something like that.
Winter creeper works really well for tying things together, and I don't think anybody on the Hort staff will be upset if you rip up winter creeper to tie stuff together.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, if you know for sure, you're confident in an invasive species, feel free to look at their roots. So yeah, if you're very confident in your ID on invasive species, yeah, definitely don't feel bad about picking any of them. We got plenty of winter creeper, plenty of bush honeysuckle, things like that.
One more question. When we take a picture, do we want the picture to be this way or this way? Horizontal or vertical? Or does it be, because what way is the calendar going to be? That's what I'm trying to say.
I would, yeah, James is saying like this. I would say the horizontal, and you may want to take more than one picture and email it to me or share it with me. Sometimes from farther away, maybe a few, definitely from farther away, maybe one or two close up, because sometimes we do have to crop things for the calendar. And if we have some different perspectives from distance from the piece of art, then that is helpful. That's a great question. Thank you.
And one other thing to keep in mind is the pictures are getting blown up really big. So the more detail, the better. And one thing that you can do to help with capturing more detail in your photo is making sure there's good lighting. So not standing over it to where your shadow is on it, that kind of thing. If you can have, sun kind of getting directly on it, you're going to capture a lot more detail. And so that'll be better when it's blown up.
How many art projects can you submit?
Well, I didn't have a maximum number in mind. I know Martha has already started to submit some things. Yeah, I didn't really think about that.
Maybe one per season?
Or one per
Want to limit it that way, like do a couple per season, because you'll probably do one and then be like, oh wait, now I did another one and I like it even more. So
yeah, I mean, I unfortunately got to missed most of the presentation because I had to deal with a contractor. So I don't know like what all the details you were giving them, but I mean, I would think at least like once a month, right? Since we're going to have,
we've got it on the calendar for once a month. So, I mean, you can come out here and do a couple during that period of time, the 9:30 to 11:30. And then when you're out here to volunteer, do another one. I mean, I'm going out every day and doing one.
Is there a limit how many people can come on the Wednesday from 9:30 to 11:30?
We'll probably end up, keeping it, 10 to 12, just so that we're not having a lot of, people, for parking purposes.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I think Mary's going to be out here like almost every month. I will say, and I think I said this kind of at the end of the presentation. So you guys are familiar with our calendar. You know that usually we are able to highlight one picture, one big picture. So that's why we want to be able to showcase all of the submissions. They likely all, Martha, I'm sorry, but every picture that you're taking, every creation you're making is not going to make it into the calendar. But at our holiday party, which again, we're really hoping we can have in 2022, we love to have slideshows of different things here at Litzinger, and we kind of thought that would be a great way to showcase everybody's piece of art. Yeah, anyway.
And technically, we could highlight 15 pieces in a calendar because you got the cover,
Yeah.
back cover, and I'm assuming you'd probably want to have a description page like how we've done for these last 2 years.
Yeah.
So that the picture for that one.
There was something that Susan posted in the chat that had to do with kind of taking pictures. I'm just going to read that, if that's okay, Susan. Do you care if I read it? It says some phones have different settings for how big the picture files are, and they're often set for a smaller file to save storage space. For these, it might be helpful to set your camera to the largest file size so the calendar isn't too pixelated. I don't know how to do that, but thanks, Susan. That was a great idea.
Generally,
and probably it's different for every phone, but if you go into the settings, often you're going to be looking for HD for high definition or something like that, whichever one is kind of bottom of the list, largest file is probably going to be best so that they blow up well.
yeah, for iPhone users, you'll go into settings and you'll go to your camera in the settings, like so the camera app in settings, and you'll adjust those features there. I don't know how it is for Android.
And we also have a nice camera here. So if this sounds really intimidating, we're happy to take a photo with the fancy camera.
Yeah, or if one of us are nearby and we have a nice cell phone or something and we can help you out.
Ann Egebrecht asked, third Wednesday of each month is when we have blocked out a 2-hour window of time from 9:30 to 11:30. This starts in December, so next month, December, and runs through October of 2022. In addition to that, if you're coming next week to the volunteer appreciation event on either day, that's kind of when we will have opportunity for ephemeral art at that time in November. So if that makes sense. So we're trying to hit each month, November, starting November of this year through October of 2022. And those are on the calendar. Just a reminder, those are on the calendar. So if you're looking at the calendar like you would look if you were going to sign up for a school group, or if you were going to look for any other enrichments, you will see that on the calendar. And you would need to let Martha know that you're coming. If it's full, then you can come out at a different time on your own, or before or after you're volunteering.
And don't forget to do your health screener before you come.
Oh. Okay.
Since I missed the presentation for the most part, when will it be posted on YouTube, Leslie?
Oh, well, that's a great question, James. Just as soon as we can do that. I don't know when, but we're recording it, and it, you know, I don't think I'll probably need to cut out a whole lot on either end if I need to edit it, but it should be up. I don't know if it'll be by the end of this week, but it might be by sometime next week. Any other thoughts or questions?
No, but I think it's a wonderful idea.
I'm so glad you're excited about it.
Oh yeah, I think we all are, for sure.
For something creative.
Yeah.
We should have lots of pretty leaves for you next week.
I know, it's gorgeous out.
It's really pretty.
Did anybody talk about the ephemeral wall that we're going to be building?
I like the idea.
Allison shared a picture out with the Tuesday volunteers a week or two ago to kind of show everybody what it was going to be like. But for those of you who haven't seen it, it's going to be a log wall that's stacked, but in a very artistic manner. And so, of course, it'll be ephemeral in the sense that it will break down over time, but it'll also be artistic and habitat for a lot of wildlife and food for many things.
And this is up at the Glass House. So yeah, maybe you'll have an opportunity. It started, it's kind of in the beginning stages. Am I right about that?
It was more of just like a layout to give people an idea of like how it'll kind of look, but all the logs that are currently just like laying in that space have to get like repositioned for the actual stacking. Yeah.
Who's going to actually do the building of it?
Probably
You are,
a lot
Pat.
of it'll probably a lot of it'll be me, but hopefully some of the volunteers will be able to help as well. Between the Friday group and the Tuesday group, if the Tuesday group wants to.
Whoever doesn't have a bad back is welcome to.
Yeah, some of the really big ones, I'm pretty sure staff will be.
That sounds like
moving
discrimination.
I mean, anybody with a bad back is more than welcome to help. But I cannot guarantee how your back's going to feel afterwards.
Okay. So I guess I'm already trying to figure out this thing about the pictures on the iPhone. So it says high efficiency for camera capture. Does that sound right?
Mary, when you have to select your picture and they give you the options of sending it, you can select small, medium, or large.
Oh, you're talking about after you've already taken the picture. Okay.
Yeah, the high. So, do you have an iPhone, Mary?
Yes.
Yeah, that high efficiency one, I believe, is actually not like the highest quality. It's like the most efficient. So it's like it's going to be taking, smaller images, trying to use up less battery and less space. So like giving you the best picture for what it can do. It's not necessarily the worst quality one on your phone, but that's not the best. Look for, if you wanted like the most pixels, you're gonna have to look at each one of those and see which one has like the most pixels allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, so you might hear that notification.